Murakami is a Japanese writer. His books and stories have been bestsellers in Japan as well as internationally, with his work being translated into 50 languages and selling millions of copies outside his native country. His work has received numerous awards, including the World Fantasy Award, the Frank Connor International Short Story Award, the Franz Kafka Prize, and the Jerusalem Prize. The second author is Young-ha Kim. Young-ha Kim was born in Hwacheon. He moved from place to place as a child since his father was in the military. As a child, he suffered from gas poisoning from coal gas and lost memory before 10. He was educated at Yonsei University in Seoul, majoring business administration, but he didn't show much interest in it. Instead, he focused on writing stories. His career as a professional writer started in 1995, right after discharge. Kim, after graduating from Yonsei University in 1993, began his military service as an assistant detective at the military police, 51st Infantry Division near Suwon. The last author of Asia is Arthur Waley. Arthur Waley was an English, Orientalist, and sinologist who achieved both popular and scholarly acclaim for his translations of Chinese and Japanese poetry. Among his honors were the CBE in 1952, the Queen's Gold Medal for Poetry in 1953, and he was enlisted as a Companion of Honor in 1956. June 25, 1963, is a Spanish-born Canadian author, best known for the Man Booker Prize, winning novel Life of Pi, a number international bestseller published in more than 50 territories. It has sold more than 12 million copies worldwide and spent more than a year on the bestseller lists of the New York Times and the Globe and Mail, among many other best-selling lists. Jan Martel. It was adapted to the screen and directed by Ang Lee, garnering 4 Oscars, the most for the event, including Best Director, and won the Golden Globe Award for Best Original Score. In January 12, 1969, David Stephen Mitchell is an English author. He is known for such best-selling novels as Number 9 Dream and Cloud Atlas. The latter work was made into a major motion picture. After completing his education, he taught English in Japan for 8 years and used his savings to finance his early writing career. Both his early novel, Ghostwritten, and his later work, Cloud Atlas, consist of separate but interrelated stories. The last author of North America is Anne Gray. In May 4, 1946, is the author of a number of collections including Painting Skin, Fatchins Press, 1995, and The Man I Was Promised. Headland, 2004. Anne was commended for the National Poetry Competition 2010 and won the Ballymaloe Poetry Prize in 2014. Her studies for an MA in creative writing from the University of Plymouth led to her collection of poems about the sudden loss of her partner. At the Gate, Headland, 2008. My Blue Hen is one of many written since that publication, which, she says, prove she was not finished with those poems. April 13, 1940, J, usually identified as J.M.G. Leclésio, is a French writer and professor, the author of over 40 works. He was awarded the 1963 Prix Renaudot for his novel, Le Procès Verbal, and the 2008 Nobel Prize in Literature for his life's work. As an author of New Departures, Poetic Adventure and Sensual Ecstasy, explorer of a humanity beyond and below the reigning civilization. Carlos Ruiz Zafón. September 25, Brno, 9-64. Ruiz Zafón was born in the city of Barcelona. Growing up in Spain, he began his working life by making money in advertising. His grandparents had worked in a factory and his father sold insurance. In the 1990s, Ruiz Zafón moved to Los Angeles where he worked briefly in screenwriting. He is fluent in English. Ruiz Zafón's first novel, El Príncipe de la Niebla, The Prince of Mist, 1993, earned the Edebay Literary Prize for Young Adult Fiction. He is also the author of 3 additional young adult novels, El Palacio de la Medianoche, 1994, Las Luces de Septiembre, 1995, and Marina, 1999. The English version of El Príncipe de la Niebla was published in 2010. The last author of Europe is Zdravka Evtimova, July 24, 1959, born in Pernik, Bulgaria, is a contemporary Bulgarian writer. She has 4 short story collections and 4 novels published in Bulgarian. Her short stories have appeared in many international literary journals. Zdravka Evtimova. Some of her short story collections were translated into other languages. Zdravka works as a literary translator from English, French, and German. Zdravka Evtimova has translated more than 25 novels by English, American, and Canadian authors into Bulgarian language. She translates the work of Bulgarian writers. Jorge Luis Arzola, 1966, was born in Jatobonico, Cuba. Unlike those authors who have up to now shaped the image of Cuban literature, Arzola belongs to a new generation of writers, the so-called novísimos. Raúl Zurita, January 10, 1950, is a Chilean poet. He won the Chilean National Prize for Literature in 2000. Zurita spent 4 years earning his living as a computer salesman during a period of financial hardship. At the same time, he was a guest reader at the Faculty of Philosophy at the Universidad de Chile in Santiago. The first of his poems to be published appeared in 1975 y en Manuscritos, the philosophy faculty's publication. 4 years later, Purgatorio was published, the first part of a Poe trilogy which Zurita would conclude for another 14 years. The book became a success. Raúl Zurita. Francisco Xavier Alarcón. Februari 21, 1954. January 15, 2016, was a Chicano poet and educator, one of the few Chicano poets to have gained recognition while writing mostly in Spanish within the United States. His poems have been also translated into Irish and Swedish. Francisco Xavier Alarcón. He made many guest appearances at public schools so that he could help inspire and influence young people to write their own poetry, especially because he felt that children are natural poet. He wrote poetry in English, Spanish, and Nahuatl, often presented to the reader in a bilingual format. His poetry is considered minimalist in style. J.M. Coetzee, February 9, 1940, is a South African-born novelist, essayist, Lingchi, translator and recipient, D. the 2003 Nobel Prize in Literature. He has also won the Booker Prize twice, the Jerusalem Prize, CNA Prize, thrice, the Prix Féminin Étranger, the Ella Risch Times International Fiction Prize, as well as other awards and honors, holds a number of honorary doctorates, and is one of the most acclaimed and decorated authors in the English language. He relocated to Australia in 2002 and lives in Adelaide. He became an Australian citizen in 2006. Henrietta Rose Inez, September 14, 1971, Isa Sauda Ashrakan novelist and short story writer. She was the 208 winner of the Caine Prize for African Writing for her speculative fiction story, Poison. Her novel Nineveh was shortlisted for the 2012 Sunday Times Prize for Fiction and the Mnet Literary Awards. In September of that year, her story, Sanctuary, was awarded Sarand Pace in the 2012 8C Enterl Natanel Short Story Award. Bettina Gapa, 1971, is a Zimbabwean lawyer and writer. She writes in English, though she also draws on Shona, her first language. She is currently based in Berlin, where she has a DAAD Artist in Residence Fellowship. In 2016, she was named African Literary Person of the Year by Brittle Paper. Gapel's first book, An Elegy for Easterly, a story collection that she says is about what it has meant to be a Zimbabwean in recent times, was published by Faber and Faber in April 2009 in the United Kingdom and in June 2009 in the United States.